Howdy doody, gamers. How we all doing? I'm not prepared for this one. I gotta be honest. Hold on. I gotta even figure out what's happening. Here I am. What's up, everybody? We got like a slick 1950s thing going with the hair today. I'm so underprepared for this stream. I was doing homework, and it got so late, and I was still doing homework, and I went, oh my god. Gotta start streaming here in a few minutes. And I'm still doing homework. And so now I'm trying to get everything all set up. Trying to get the setup from last week. Which it wasn't a great, let's be honest. It's not the greatest of setups. But it works. Let's try and get this. Legendary. Kong Skull Island. Jordan. Let's get Mr. Roberts pulled up. Jordan. Here, let's see. Alright, sweet. Come on. I'm good now. I got this setup going. We got Kong pulled up here, ready to go. I had to re-render Kong out today because, man, my Kong Skull Island was broken. My render does this thing where it moves like that. And it's pretty awful. Also, I popped on the good old Kong Skull Island shirt. Gotta have that. And, yeah, it's going to be awesome. I almost totally effed up and had the movie audio play, which was going to get me in a lot of trouble and get the stream taken down. You love my hair like this? Well, I appreciate that. So anyone who is new here, you got to be ready. Kong starts at 5 o'clock on the dot. So make sure you get that all good to go. I also, for whatever reason, can't see how many people are watching today. Why is it not telling me? How many people are watching? 136. Hey, that's what I like to see. I feel like it's my job to tweet this out real fast. I'm running out of time, though. I told you I wasn't prepared for this stream. Let's get this going. Come join the hashtag MonsterVerse. Watch along with me as we sit down to watch Kong Skull Island. Alright, there. I've done my job. I've tweeted this out. I know, it's almost time. My favorite MonsterVerse movie. I can't wait. That's probably taboo for me to say. How dare this be my favorite? Alright. This screen is dedicated to King Kong now. How's the best way to do this? 1 minute. Yes, boys. All right, 1 minute. I got it pulled up. We got 30 seconds, and I'm pressing space. Okie dokie. 20 seconds. I got my finger on the trigger. You haven't seen this movie in a little while? Well, it's quite the ride. I just watched it for Kongathon not too long ago. That was not long ago that I watched this. It's only like a month. All right, 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. King Kong. I remember sitting in the theater because I got to see this movie early for the test screening. In the theater, being genuinely confused at this intro. When you open on the smoke the clouds, and the minute the gunfire started, it clicked in my head that I had been wrong the whole time. I had been saying the whole time in the trailers, the dude with the knife who's on top of the other dude about to stab him, I kept saying that's Tom Hiddleston who's about to be stabbed by some bad guy. And already by the start of this movie, I immediately knew I was wrong. The comments were right. It is indeed a flashback to Hank Marlowe getting onto the island. Yes, this is also my favorite MonsterVerse film. We got something in common. You've been watching loads of GVKs. You've never seen this movie before? It's definitively the best MonsterVerse movie. That's something I shouldn't say. I love that the actor who plays Hank Marlowe here winds up playing Hank Marlowe's son in the post-credits scene. That's really cool. This is one scene that I always do kind of find to be a little odd when he gets shot at. Because it's like, God, they're supposed to be soldiers, right? And they're both the worst of shots. I also forgot to do this, so I'll make sure I do it this time. Just so that we can all enjoy it together. That's the gift we're going with. What else would it be? God, I love this movie, dude. This terrain is something that we don't see enough of. We get this, I think this was all shot in Hawaii and Australia. We get this terrain only in this opening scene, and we don't get enough of it. Hey, thank you very much, Goji Geek 2004, for tuning in. We are watching Kong about to appear over the cliff. Hank Marlowe just made it to the cliff. You're just making it in the intro of the movie. Thank you for the donation. Fingers crossed this terrain shows up in GVK for real. And this shot, the shot of them here on the cliff, is like a painting. This whole movie has like a dreamlike painting quality. Look around the edges, specifically the bottom corners. Dude, the noise that the katana makes when it cuts through his fingers, it made me cringe so hard the first time I saw this movie. It's a brutal sound effect. But even the edges or the corners of the screen have this like weird 3D effect. Oh, it's such a beautiful film. It got this dreamlike quality. And then Kong. The most badass King Kong intro of all time. Sure, you get some questions raised. How is Kong this tall if it's in the 1940s? Who cares? It gives us such an awesome shot. People who question that are the same people who question why Godzilla is tall enough to walk through the Golden Gate Bridge. It doesn't matter. I love the fade into the eye too. You can really see it if you have a good screen, Kong reflecting in his eye. It looks beautiful. And then the Project Monarch intro is so well done. It takes the Godzilla 2014 intro style and does something so cool with it. I don't know. Not only do I love the music done by Henry Jackman, but I think the visuals on screen, there's something really cool about it. Even though it's just historical B-roll footage, there's something really awesome about it that I've always just loved. Can you tell I have a lot more to say about this movie than Godzilla 2014? Not that I obviously love Godzilla 2014, but I just have so much more to say about Kong Skull Island because it's a movie that I've seen so much more, and it's a movie that I think, a little more attached to because I did get to see this in theaters early, I guess, and it was just, I was more involved on the channel at that point. I agree, Dangerville. This was the exact style intro that I wanted in Godzilla King of the Monsters. This was even something I talked about leading up to King of the Monsters, was that I wanted an intro like this, and King of the Monsters didn't give it to us until the end credits, although the end credits are incredible in that movie. But I sure would have liked to see something like this in that movie. They had something unique with the intro segment, and I feel like King of the Monsters lost something by getting rid of it. I agree. And yes, I do hope it comes back for Godzilla vs. Kong as well. Let's see if Jordan's saying anything on Twitter. I don't know. Do you guys know if Jordan is tweeting? Oh, he is. He's tweeting as himself rather than through Kong. I'm assuming that's because Gareth didn't have a Twitter that he still has access to, whereas Jordan Vogt Roberts uses his Twitter all the time. But he's sharing concept art at the moment. Looks really cool. This intro feels energetic with the look of 2014 intro. And it's got those nice little sneaky references to the 2014 intro. There'll never be a more screwed up time in Washington. Jordan Vogt Roberts says that wasn't meant to be a political joke. He says when they wrote the script, it was just supposed to be like a funny haha, like it's ironic in retrospect because, it's the 70s, Nixon, things are going to get worse. And then, we are living in the current situation we're living in. And plus, that line, as I'm sure a lot of people will point out, yeah, even in the comments right now, we got Gavin pointing it out until Ghidorah shows up. And once Ghidorah shows up, Washington is in a bit of a rough situation. This movie was what single-handedly kicked off my fascination with the Vietnam War back in 2017 when it came out. And I remember being very frustrated with my school for cutting the Vietnam War out of curriculum simply because it was something that the teacher did not want to talk about, because he didn't want to talk about that maybe sometimes America didn't always do good. This film is what actually got me to see Apocalypse Now, so the film actually what influenced me to make my Vietnam film. I didn't tell my lecturers that, of course. Yeah. I haven't seen Apocalypse Now, but this is the movie that I want to see it because of this movie. I love this introduction with John Goodman and Corey Hawkins. I was going to say Feldman, but that's Corey Hawkins. The little monologue he gives about Skull Island here is very reminiscent of the 76 film. And it's also the perfect Skull Island encapsulation of what Skull Island across the whole franchise is. That line where God did not finish creation is phenomenal. What kind of teacher cuts out the parts of history? Yeah, what kind of propaganda is that? Yeah, my school is propaganda. My schools have always been propaganda. This shot right here, you know, the Latin that he's about to lay down, right there, the one we just cut to, was originally Godzilla. Jordan Vogt Roberts does confirm that the USS Lawton picture didn't start out as the USS Lawton. It started out as Godzilla. And he was adamant that they don't want to show Godzilla in this movie. And so they decided to turn it into the Lawton, with the implication being that maybe Godzilla is the one who did that. And then in Godzilla King of the Monsters, for those of you who don't know, it was confirmed to be Godzilla in the post-credits. What's your favorite Titan? Oh, that line about the aliens. Dude, there's so much in this movie. The line about the aliens, of course, being ironic in retrospect now that Ghidorah is confirmed to be an alien as well. I like the aesthetic here. They really did a good job with the 70s costume design. I don't know if you just look at the extras in this movie. You got the big poofy hair. You got just that kind of weird color palette that everyone wore. I don't know if pastel's the right word to use, but that weird color that everyone always had in the 70s. So I think they did a great job here. I wish they did show Godzilla, because for those that didn't stay to the end credits, they didn't realize this was connected to Godzilla. I think that actually works to this film's benefit. By not having the movie outright say, hey, by the way, this is connected to Godzilla, it stands on its own a little more, and it also works a little better to people who were figuring it out for the first time, going, holy cow, this is connected to Godzilla. This is one of my favorite little jokes in the movie. Kong Skull Island's a movie that will never not make me laugh. I probably won't laugh here right now because I'm so distracted and caught up with everything going on. But this is one of my favorite little gags in the movie. I love that little line. And the music in this movie. I have this soundtrack. I've had this soundtrack since 2017. Probably my most listened to movie soundtrack of lyrical music. I've listened to this so much. Oh man, I love this movie. Yeah, we Vietnam boys now. There was a good deleted scene here that I'm a little bummed got cut. That it had a nice little joke of them all meeting up with Packard showing up. Can I get a synopsis on what's going on? Are these people on Skull Island because of the soldiers? Have you never seen this movie? They are not on Skull Island because of the soldiers. They are on Skull Island because they are going to map the terrain of the island. I put all the tracks from the music on a playlist. I would go out. Man, that comment went away real quick. Yeah. Yes, I've probably listened to this more than at least the majority of Billie Eilish music. The Bros one, but not more than all of her music. I've listened to some of her songs a lot. I put all the tracks and the music on a playlist. I would go out and play it on speaker set of the film and the crew to get into the mood. I'm assuming you're talking about the Vietnam film. That's pretty cool. I never understood why some people hate on the actors in this film. I don't know. I think they do a great job. And this was a character. This line right here should have told me he was going to die. Jack Chapman saying, I got to get home to my family. I never thought he was going to die because King Kong has always had a Jack, right? Whether it's Jack Driscoll or Jack Prescott, we've always had a Jack in a King Kong film. This is our Jack for this film. And in my head, I was like, yeah, he's not going to die. Jack doesn't die. Jack's the character that lives. So when Jack Chapman eventually got killed off, I was very much shocked. Yeah, it's got a lot of talented MCU actors. I don't know why people would trash on the actors in this film. I think they do an awesome job. Jack is like the Bryan Cranston of this film. I liked him, but he died too early. I don't even know if he dies too early. I just don't think they do enough with him. There is apparently a full segment of this movie that was cut, and we can see shots of it in the trailer of Jack Chapman exploring the, I was going to say Mutos, the Skullcrawler's nest. He finds a Hollow Earth vent, and that was in the trailers, but it's cut from the film for some unknown reason. Definitely feel like I was going to say something else, but I totally got distracted. There's way too much happening. This sequence, I think, is way over expositional. I have a problem, as I talked about a lot in my Kong Skull Island Kongathon review. I have a big problem with Bill Randa and Houston Brooks' dialogue in this first act of the movie. I think that they are way over expositionary. I don't know. They just, like, no one talks like the way they're talking in this scene, you know? Although I do love this bar sequence. I think it's great. I love the colors. I love it. I think the music is really cool here. But I've always had kind of a problem with the way they talk in this scene. I'm not sure if I'm the only one who has that problem, but I've always kind of had that problem. And then, of course, you got that super good-looking Asian chick who just closed the curtains. This set is really cool. I just think the color palette here, more movies need a color palette like this. Thank you very much, Godzilla Geek 2004, for the donation. He says, what reptile is in the cage? I have a bearded dragon. That boy is a rosy boa. I love this, dude. I love that he whips it back at him. And this joke, I think that's a funny joke too, as well. I feel like I might just be giving a whole bunch of the fun facts here that the benefit of having seen the... I don't even know what the hell I was just saying. This is a great sequence. I love the dialogue here. I think James Conrad's dialogue here is awesome. But I don't think I'm going to actually need much of Jordan Vogt Roberts on Twitter because I've done a lot of deep diving into this movie. So I feel like I could already spew a whole bunch of fun facts about this film. Like the fact that John Goodman wasn't on set when they filmed this. He is digitally inserted. That's something that not a lot of people know. With the benefit of good headphones, you can definitely pick up on the ADR dialogue that provides that exposition. Yeah, it's distracting. Someone also pointed out that James wanted a bonus if he makes it back alive, but like, what's the alternative? Well, maybe the idea is that he's going to make it back alive. Think about that. James Conrad is gonna make it back alive. He is, because he's qualified. These science geeks are not gonna make it back alive, guaranteed. He's saying, you're gonna give me a bonus if you make it back alive, but I'm getting paid no matter what because I'm coming back alive. You know, it's that kind of idea. You should just host the watch-along instead of Jordan. Such as Thomas Middleditch, about to be the one who calls Weaver up on the phone. Thomas Middleditch, who plays our boy Sam Coleman in Godzilla King of the Monsters. Yeah. I didn't even acknowledge that it's Brie Larson is the one playing this character. I like the music here. Assembling the Team is one of my favorite songs on the soundtrack. It's got that Kong Skull Island main theme worked in it, but in a really cool way. And this little exchange coming up here with Mills and Cole is one of my favorite exchanges in the whole movie. I just think it's so funny. I wonder if his name is a reference to Joseph Conrad. I have no idea. I don't even know who that is. Love this dialogue, dude. I love these two characters so much. So that's a line that I quote at least when this movie came out, I quoted all the time. And it made there was no context to it. It was just like one of those lines that I would quote whenever the mood was right. And I'd hit people with a, Vietnam's not an island, dumbass. It just made me laugh so much. Do you think we'll hear the original 33 score in Godzilla vs. Kong, or just the themes from Kong Skull Island? I'm hoping we hear any of that. I'm hoping we hear both. Yeah, I'm hoping we hear the 33 music, and I'm hoping we hear some of this music, at least. But I'm not hopeful for that. Joseph Conrad was the author of the book Heart of Darkness, which is what Apocalypse Now is adapted from. Well, then in that case, I would assume that, yeah, Conrad's name probably is a reference to that, because Jordan Vogt Roberts is in love with Apocalypse Now, so I'd imagine, yes. Haven't seen many of these designs in years. It was a long process, primarily because Jordan's talking about the Sky Devils design and how they came about it, just saying that they had a lot of different designs in the works back in the day. So you consider Conrad as Jack for this film. I guess he's our closest thing to the Jack of this movie, yes. I like this presentation scene a lot. It's very reminiscent of King Kong 76. I don't know. I love this presentation scene. Yes, an epic slideshow. Totally misunderstood her name the first multiple times I saw this movie. I thought her name was Missan. I definitely thought that was her name. I did not realize he was saying Miss San. So I think in my original review of the movie, you will hear me refer to her as Missan. But I recently watched my original review of Kong Skull Island from back in 2017, and I don't think I've ever seen myself so excited during a review. I was so hyped about this movie. Is this the best Kong design ever put on film? I actually think so, yeah. This is probably my favorite Kong design. I know originally I was a little disappointed that Kong was bipedal in this movie, but after seeing it in the film, I think I would say that this is my favorite Kong ever. I think one thing a lot of people overlook in this sequence is them talking about the low pocket zone, implying that the storm around Skull Island is so powerful that you can't get into it a lot of the time. You know, I think a lot of people just think you can fly a helicopter straight through, but this movie makes a point that you can't do that. They even mention later that they'll have to wait for years before they can ever get in again if they miss this window. So I think that's something that a lot of people overlook. I did stream the recording of my spoiler review for Kong Skull Island back in 2017. But in addition to that, I also did my reaction review where I was super hyped. One thing I find interesting about all that stuff outside on the boat that we just saw that is not on screen anymore because I missed it, is I think it's all night for day. I think that was all stuff shot at day and turned into night, because you can see some of those shots in the trailer, and they are daytime shots in the trailer. I don't have a problem with this scene. I think this scene's fine. What timestamp are you on? I am on 1938. That line, I think, is a little on the nose. Just Conrad, I'm decommissioned. That's a little on the nose, but I do actually like this exchange quite a bit. I do think that shot where it kind of lingers on the two of them is a little awkward, but then it transitions us into this. The lighting in this whole movie is great. This movie's fantastic with that. And I like that they gave Brie Larson this real camera. The pictures we're seeing on screen are actually pictures she took. I think that's really cool. And I love this Dear Billy that's set up here. I wish we got to see what the note is. I'm still saying, please, 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 Godzilla vs. Kong, please give us Billy Chapman all grown up, a member of Monarch. God, that'd be amazing, dude. And he doesn't even need to be a main character. You know, just make him a background character or a cameo or whatever, and then the hardcore fans will be like, oh my god. This is a good reveal when you pan around the boat to see the storm. Looks awesome. Vogt Roberts is taking questions on Twitter. I don't know what questions to ask him. I guess I'll tweet him just cause. There you go. I got a question in. Not a great one, but why not? Do you have the 20-inch Kong figure? I'm not sure. Maybe if you're talking about the Leonard, was it? The Leonard Kong? I do have it. I want to see Billy run into a skullcrawler. I agree. Just as long as it doesn't kill him. The cast in this film is so great. Many talented people. Oh, for sure. Every single character in this movie, I think, does a good job. This guy, he's the only character who I probably couldn't tell you his name. In the blue, he is one of the Landsat workers. Man, I don't know his name, but he's one of the... He's like a comedian actor. I think he's in the show The Good Place, maybe. He's the only character that what's his name? Sam? Steve? His name's Steve. I got it. I figured it out. He's a character that I'm not in love with, but, you know, I think he does a good job. I love Jason Mitchell's in this movie. I think he does such a great job. I think he's one of the most underrated characters in this movie. He's in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I always see him as the character in Skull Island. You had a pain getting it out of the box because of the screws. Yeah, that goddamn 18-inch Kong. That stupid thing. I don't remember if that's exactly the one that I cut myself on, but I definitely cut myself on one of them. When making a monster movie that's also a Mysterious Island movie, one question you will never cease asking yourself and having asked of you is, how quickly do we get to the island? Such a tricky balance. That's from Jordan. Hold on to your butts is a little much. I don't know. I'm fine with it. He can say hold on to your butts, but yeah, it is a little much. I do remember when I very first saw this movie, counting the helicopters in the air. The second time I saw this movie, I started counting the helicopters on the boat and in the air because I could not figure out the math. And I love that Jordan Vogt Roberts addresses that on what is it, like Honest Trailers. He addresses that and is he's making fun of it as well. But I do remember going to the theater with my notebook trying to count the helicopters. Speaking of, when this movie's over, one of you guys remind me. I will definitely grab my notebook because I have my original theater notes in here in this room. They're back there. I'm not going to go get up and grab them during the movie, but I definitely have those old notes right with me. And I remember trying to count the helicopters, trying to figure it all out. Because I could not figure it out, man. I like the pink lightning is pretty cool. I think this movie's just really colorful and awesome. That's one thing that, thank God, they did with this film, you know, because at least they put some color into the MonsterVerse. As much as I would have loved to see what Gareth Edwards had up his sleeve, the color that we got when he left is a welcomed addition. Pink lightning makes more sense with comics in mind. With the comics in mind? I don't exactly know what you're referring to. I like this Icarus speech. It's cool. It's actually the only reason I know the myth of Icarus is because of this movie. And then the little Nixon gag coming up is also a good one. I just like the noise that the bobblehead makes. That you like that? Is that some good like ASMR noises? There's my bobblehead impression. The Island, the most perfect song in the MonsterVerse, outside of the Ifukube music. Oh man, it's so good, dude. I like the weird shape Skull Island has in this movie, where it's all kind of building towards the mountain, which was ripped from some video game. I remember not which. What's up, Self Elevation? Yeah, I like the way it all builds inward. These shots have almost been ruined for me, because these shots of the island, of the panning around Skull Island, they now and always will be the build up to Godzilla vs. Kong for me. Just because of the way they are used in King of the Monsters, they will for always ever be associated with that for me. I just love this movie, dude. There's too many good shots for me to point them out. For real. Need more daylight scenes with the monsters. This movie has us covered, because there's only 2 nighttime scenes with the monsters in this movie, and one of them lasts all of 3 minutes, or 3 seconds even. What, Kong watching the Northern Lights is not a long scene. The song kicking on. Also, that dragonfly. I know it's not technically a reference, but I like the parallel to the dragonfly landing on that leaf to the whatever little gecko or whatever it is in Godzilla 2014. Iguana. I don't know. What the hell was it? I don't remember. Now it's explosion time. I think this movie's incredibly well paced, because we waste no time on Skull Island. We get to Skull Island, we get an amazing montage of the island, then we follow it up with an amazing montage of blowing up the island. It's just like an action scene right away. No other Kong movie has the guts to do that. Goji Geek, thank you very much. My favorite song is Happening to Be Paranoid. That's awesome. The sound of the propellers sync with the music. I know, dude. It's like a Baby Driver. I don't know why this movie is not more well regarded. It's so good. I like the way you can see the heat wave ripples as well. Just that added level of realism. Super good. Why are they blowing up the place? They're trying to map the subsurface of the island to discover if the Hollow Earth exists. I just love it, man. The music here is so cool. I love that shot in the glasses. I can't. This is the kind of movie that I want to make if I make a movie. The geography here is always a little confusing. I love the tree. I love the way that the tree plays with the music here as it ramps back up and into itself. But the geography of this scene has always kind of confused me a little bit. I don't know, it just has. But this is such a great reveal. The hand, and I know this was like something that we saw so much of. We were so overexposed to this shot leading up to Kong Skull Island. We even had the VR experience of this. But there's a good reason for that, and it's because it's so cool. I like how it's all one take, even though right there you could argue is a hidden cut. It actually isn't, from what I understand. It isn't a hidden cut. This is all one take, even though it's all CGI. It's still a one take. Where, yeah, I don't know. I think that this is just such a cool reveal of Kong. It makes him very menacing, and I love the scale that we get with him. Even though I've always had a problem with Kong eating a guy. But at this point, you know, I can get over it. I can move on. But yeah, the scale is so cool. This is this shot of the Kong standing up here in front of the sun is such. Oh, I can't. And then the shot. I know we're not there yet, but you know we're gonna get the Randa footage here coming up. Right there, that shows back up in King of the Monsters. The only footage that makes sense to appear in King of the Monsters. But this shot, where you're panning up from his feet and you're following the helicopters, he's in the river. Oh my god, that shot is everything to me. And Skull Island is such a beautiful location. But yeah, that river doesn't make much sense to be there because we won't see it in a second. He's definitely not in a river right here, right in this shot. And Love the fist closing. But he's definitely not in a river when he attacks these helicopters. And I love the way Kong moves in this movie. Kong moves so fluid. There's such... I don't know. He just moves so smooth. Especially, you can see that when he's fighting. But it makes him seem like he's always in control. He kind of has like the fighting style of... I don't want to say martial arts, but he's kind of got like some martial arts influence to it, I guess. That's probably the coolest King Kong move in the movie, when he punches that helicopter out of the air. It's pretty Evangelion as well, which I think was the intention, was to make Kong move kind of like an Eva. And I was never able to appreciate that until I saw Netflix's Evangelion when it was finally put out on Netflix. There's so many good shots in this sequence. This is probably my favorite action scene in the movie. I think this is the most exciting in my opinion. And I know it's not even like a monster versus monster fight, but I don't think it needs to be. I just think this is the most exciting part of the movie. Is it bad of me to laugh when those guys get stomped on? I like the way he makes the helicopters crash into each other as well. Makes Kong seem super intelligent. And then the shot here where he clears the smoke and you can see him looking up. So good, dude. How does someone think of this stuff? One thing that I always appreciated about it as well is that the helicopters don't just explode on landing. Some of them do. I like that little line there when the guy tells him to run to the side. It doesn't do much good for him because he's about to get killed right here, but he tried. And then he gets eaten by the helicopter. It's too funny. Yeah, but one thing I always appreciate is that the helicopters don't explode. I know they did that practically as well. They actually crashed these helicopters, and I think it's always really cool. But yeah, I do like that the helicopters don't just explode. It's not like a Michael Bay movie. I feel like Sam Jackson tried too hard to be cool when he said, "Kill this son of a bitch." Maybe. It is a very violent scene. There's a lot of blood in this little section. Young directors seem to have that unique eye for filmmaking. It's really cool, man. This is, I don't know, like I said, I don't know how you think of this stuff, but it's, thank God someone did. And that's, again, another example. I know you could say, oh, that's plot convenience. It's plot convenience that none of these guys die in the helicopter crashes. None of the main characters. It's like, yeah, well, if they were going to die, they wouldn't be main characters. You know, we would have followed helicopters that we're about to cut to. We would have followed the guys in that helicopter if they had made it out of here instead. That's such a cool... I love that, dude. This has more on-screen deaths than King of the Monsters. A lot of people die in King of the Monsters, but you don't see it. Yeah, that's very true. Very true. I think this movie probably has the most on-screen deaths of any MonsterVerse film. And maybe of any King Kong movie. I'm not totally sure about that, but maybe. I've never loved that shot of Sam Jackson with all the weird whatever that was behind him, all the weird colors, but I love the shot here of Kong's eyes. I think it's such a good moment. Too good. And yeah, there are a lot of questions raised here as to the timeline of this movie, because that is definitely a sunset moment that we just witnessed, and then we cut to a very much daytime portion of the film. Maybe a whole night went by, because as we're going to find out later, the way Marlowe talks about it, they've been here a full night. So I like to pretend that every single character passed out for an entire night and then just woke up the next day, which I know is not what happened, but we see that back shot of Kong King of the Monsters. It doesn't really make sense. No, it does not, but it's kind of like a staple of the Godzilla movies to do that. We saw a lot of that in definitely the Showa era Godzilla films specifically, where it was always showing footage and you had to question how on earth they got that footage. But yes, I do have that problem with King of the Monsters. A lot, actually. There's a lot of moments in King of the Monsters that I go, how do they have that shot? And this actor, whoever plays Slivko, I think does a really good job as well. I think he's pretty funny in this movie. Very underrated. For anyone interested, we are at 36:09, 10, 11, 12. So you can catch up with us. Stock footage is what makes King of the Monsters a true Godzilla movie. That's kind of the way I see it too. I think I talked about that a little bit when the movie came out. That this is like the first Godzilla movie to honor stock footage since the 1970s. If you look really closely during this whole sequence, you can see it's raining. There's a lot of rain going on in this movie that you can't see unless you have really high definition screen, because they had to actually film on location, which is why this movie looks so gorgeous, because they actually did film it on location. So there's a lot of rain. Like in this sequence as well, it's raining. I love this exchange too. This is so funny. I'm telling you, these two characters are almost the highlight of the movie for me. I think they're so funny. Oh, man. This is my favorite line. You're going to have to edit this movie over me. Someone's going to have to put together a reaction video. Because I like to let a lot of these lines breathe so that I can hear them. I love that Eaton's for the living line. Coles and Mills. Cole and Mills are my two favorites. The 2014 footage makes sense because everything was shot can realistically be taken from person on a building, but the shots in King of the Monsters don't make sense at all. Even some of the King of the Monsters stuff doesn't make sense. Yeah, like when they're watching Rodan and Godzilla fight in the in the clouds. And then, yeah, that unconventional encounter line just cracks me up every time. I just think it's so funny. Those are two things I say a lot, too. Eaton's for the living, and that was an unconventional encounter. I say that a lot as well. And there's a lot of times when I will use the phrase, there is no tactical precedence. And the reason I use it is because of that scene. That whole little exchange is just too much for me. I love it. I enjoy the characters of this film, TBH. Some of them do shine more than most generic soldiers you see in most action films. I agree. I remember when this scene came out online, when they released this early. I did a reaction for it. And it got me real excited to hear them use the phrase massive unidentified terrestrial organism. I love how Sam Jackson pulls out his gun, then pulls it out again for the next shot. He just pulls it out and then he's, moving with it. That's all. I like Randa's little Jaws speech here. Yeah, I do. Once again, I do agree that the term Mutos is cool. Oh, what the hell? I never noticed that. Jordan Vogt Roberts pointing out that the sunlight framing is definitely intentional reference to Evangelion. What is that episode? I don't know what episode that is, but it's one of my favorites. It's one where they have to fight the fourth children. Is it the fourth children? I believe it is. That's a great episode. It's a heartbreaking ending. I've seen some people picking fights with the Hollow Earth where they're like, Hollow Earth is where I checked out of the MonsterVerse. Once they introduced the Hollow Earth, I checked out. If you're willing to suspend your disbelief to say that a creature like Godzilla could exist, how can you not suspend your disbelief further to say that underground pockets exist in the world as well? ? How is that where you draw the line? That is not even new to this canon. That's something we've had since the 1954 Godzilla movie. He plays a very different character in this movie than in 10 Cloverfield Lane. I disagree with that. I think they're very different. I like the water buffalo here. The water buffalo, I wonder, is around the same size as the 33 Kong, I feel. He might be a little bigger. He might be a little bigger than the 33 Kong, but I like to think that it's around the same size. Hollow Earth has always existed in MonsterVerse, though. Dagon was basically in Hollow Earth Pocket. Yeah, but, I mean, he was in a cave. He wasn't really in the Hollow Earth, you know. And if you read Godzilla Aftershock, he's definitely not in the Hollow Earth. He dies on top of the Earth and then just kind of gets eroded into the ground over time. What did I say? Did I not say buffalo? I do like the Playmates Kong more than I like the Leonard Kong as well. What time are you at? I am at 41, 57, 58, 59, 42. I never counted up the tallies on his helmet there. I wonder how many kills he has confirmed. I'm telling you, man, these two characters crack me up every time they're on screen. I do like that version of the story as well. I like that version a little more. The the mouse kills the lion with the thorn. That's good. This was a good jump scare. Got my little brother good. It may have gotten me the first time I saw this movie. I don't remember. It may have. But I know it got my little brother real good. I will never live it down, the fact that I watched this movie or the trailer for this movie and missed the mother long legs in the trees. I will never live that down, that when I did the trailer breakdown I didn't notice it, and so I had to bring it up in a retrospective or in a news video or whatever. It's a cool monster though. I like that it has tentacles. Like, that's so weird. I do remember talking in the trailer breakdown as well that I thought that the tentacles were not tentacles. I thought that was blood falling downward. No, we didn't all think this was Kumonga. I feel like I had been saying from the start that this wasn't going to be Kumonga, and that maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't remember ever saying that this was Kumonga. But oh boy, the internet sure did. Like they would ever buy the rights to a spider. Mother Longlegs looks like Scylla. I don't think so. I think they look fairly different. I have a soft spot for that PFS shot. The first person stuff. That's really cool. Made me want a Kong Skull Island game. That would be really awesome. Lots of good shots of the island as well. This raises an interesting question about what the old civilization on this island used to be like, because there's definitely stuff out here that implies that at one point there was a much larger civilization on this island, and we see a little bit more of that in Skull Island Birth of Kong, but we don't ever know about what that civilization was up to, and I don't know, I just like to learn a little more about the Iwi people themselves. Can someone just mod Kong into Far Cry, please? This film is non-stop action and I love it. Me too. It's a great movie. I told you, this movie's perfectly paced in my opinion. There's not a single bit of this movie that drags for me. I think the whole movie is interesting. Stuff is constantly happening. I like how the Iwi that just jump scared Mason Weaver right there. The internet decided like a year ago that was also played by Brie Larson. So they thought that Brie Larson was jump scaring herself, despite everyone involved in the film saying that was not the case. I think John C. Reilly does a great job. Listen to the dialogue here. He's going to say, I was up right there. I was up all night thinking about it. Which means one of two things to me. Either one, the Iwi are significantly more telepathic than we realize in Skull Island: The Birth of Kong. Either the Iwi straight up have these telepathic abilities where they can see the future, they can predict the future, or a full day has passed. Which is kind of what would make sense, given the fact that Kong attacks at sunset, and then here, it's the next day. Or a day, it's daytime. But I guess Kong could attack at sunrise. I suppose you could argue that Kong attacks at sunrise? I don't know. I remember when I did see this movie, I assumed Kong attacked at sunrise, and everything else followed was just later that day, which again, that could be the case. It certainly could be. The Mothra girl is when they leave the Iwi. That's when you see her. So apparently there was a lot more stuff like this that's been cut from the film of Jack Chapman exploring the island on his own. I would like to see a little bit more of that, because this is a really cool sequence. I like the subtle parallel here, or I guess, I don't know what you'd call it, where you got Toby Kebbell in the water, and then there's Toby Kebbell in the water, because he plays King Kong as well. Even though I know Terry Notary does Kong's body for the most part, and Toby Kebbell primarily did Kong's face, but still fun to think about. And this is a good King Kong moment as well, kind of seeing Kong thinking he's unobserved. This is just, you're catching up with a day in the life of King Kong. He doesn't realize he's being watched. I like that. I like seeing what Kong's up to. I agree that they could make a really cool mini story of Toby Kebbell, what he was up to. Maybe they should release it someday as a short film. This humanizes Kong more, shows his personal side. Yeah, for sure. Notice the blood on his face changes. On Kong's face or Chapman's face? I like that Kong doesn't have a drinking system. he drinks just straight from his hand. I don't know why I think that's funny. You'd think that a creature as smart as Kong may be able to build a cup. Or use something to scoop. And this has always been a fun gag, having him easily take out the squid, which is kind of our odaku. There's a freeze frame there when Kong's pulling the squid off of him that makes his eyes look super bugged out. I like this a lot. Just chowing down on the squid. Which, according to Doherty, the reason that a creature like Kong would do this is because he's actually getting the protein from the radiation within the squid. Yeah, I know that's supposed to be an Oldboy reference, but I've never seen the movie Oldboy, so that reference goes right over my head. I know it's an Oldboy reference, but I do not know the specific reference because I've not seen the movie. I think the Iwi Village is really cool. I like the design of it. It's a pretty interesting setup. And I like the little twist there. The wall is not for Kong in this version of the story is really cool. There is a line coming up here that I think should have been given to a different character. Right here with Conrad, where the Iwi bow right here, right? That is a physical acknowledgement. They're bowing. That is an exchange of dialogue non-verbally. And then you got Conrad here questioning. I didn't hear them say anything, right? I think Conrad would be smart enough to figure that out. I think Slivko should have been the one to ask that. Because Slivko would be the character that would be confused by that. I don't know how to say that guy's name. Nienmez? I do not know how to say that name. And I just heard them say it too, but I will never be able to say that. I think his name's Victor, though. I think that's his actual name, so Victor is what I would call him. The people being past all the issues with modern society implies they had a really developed civilization. Yeah, and it implies that we are still so far behind, doesn't it? Hold a mirror up to ourselves for a minute. How can these people figure it out but we can't? I hope we see Monarch interact with the villagers perhaps in a militant way. I hope they don't interact with the village in a militant way, but I would like to see them interact. I think, the military, the government might, but I don't think Monarch would. I think Monarch is interacting with them the same way these characters would. I think Monarch would be very respectful. And we see a little bit of that in Skull Island, The Birth of Kong. They try to integrate into the society right away. They don't try and take over. They don't say your way is wrong. They go along with it. Even when they're like, yeah, this pilgrimage is nuts, they still go along with it. These paintings are so cool. I'm telling you, Jordan Vogt Roberts is like a visionary, dude. Like, who thinks of this stuff? Who thinks of making these weird, reveal pictures that are all based on your angle? I don't know, but they're awesome. They're so cool. It'd be hard to line that up, though. Outside of this one, where you're walking in on a head-on angle, that's a really cool picture of Kong as well. Outside of that, it'd be really hard to genuinely find the proper angle in person. Yeah, Kong mourning his parents like Batman. I love this as well. Again, you're just like a day in the life of Kong, checking him out. He's I just like the way he patrols the island. He really does feel like the king, And I like this as well, of him jumping around the trees. Gives him that kind of child sense of curiosity. Makes him seem like he's kind of having fun with it. Although Kong looks kind of weird in that shot, if you ask me. When he lands, there's always been something a little weird about that shot. I don't know what it is, but Kong always does kind of look odd to me there. Yeah, Kong's just having fun. He's still an adolescent. That's such a cool line. The devils live below us. I like the way John C. Reilly plays this moment. He looks around, is trying to reaffirm that he should say it or not. This just makes me laugh. And that's a moment that I think the trailers might have ruined, because I think that moment's funnier the first time. But for the most part, I think the humor in this movie works very well on repeat viewings. I love this. This fight scene is so cool. We need more fight scenes like this in monster movies. These really choreographed, one-take, very fluid motion fights. I mean, watch the way Kong moves here. He just moves so smooth. He just has that sense of control over his motion, where it's not necessarily he's just stronger than his opponents. It's that he's more calculated than them. Because I would argue that the Skullcrawler that he fights at the end of the movie, MacArthur as Jordan Vogt Roberts refers to it, or Ramarak as it's referred to in the toys, or I don't know where the hell they refer to it as Ramarak, but Ramarak is supposed to be the name. The Ramarak is stronger than Kong. And Kong's still able to pull it off because he's just better, I love this. I think that joke only works because the way Tom Hiddleston plays that, where he immediately gets annoyed with being slapped in the face. I just think that's so funny. The expression of Kong be showing far more emotions than the new Lion King. Yeah, well, that's never been a problem. King Kong's always been a very emotive, expressive character. This is a cool little shot of the tree exploding. For people who are very intimately familiar with this film, like myself, I'm sure they're getting a little annoyed with me talking about things like this because they already know this. But, these are fun facts for people who don't know this. But there was originally a sequence in this movie where that was a forest, where they were in a forest of these things. And some noise in the forest caused the whole forest to explode. It wasn't originally going to be just one tree. Considering the amount of humor this movie has, I'm really impressed with how there's some dark comedic moments in the action scenes with some of the deaths. I agree. I think this movie knows what it's trying to do. This movie's trying to be a fun... I don't know, this movie's just trying to be fun, So I don't think that the tone is compromised at all, because I think it knows what it's trying to do, and it fully commits to that. If it had only sort of committed to the humor, like I would argue King of the Monsters kind of does. King of the Monsters, I don't know. King of the Monsters is a movie that I think seems a little tonally conflicted, and we'll talk about that next week when we watch it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that there are some moments in King of the Monsters that I think tonally compromise the rest of the moments, but this movie I think really knows what it's trying to do a little more, or at least it executes that a little better, if that makes any sense. I love the IRI setting. I have no idea what IRI means, but I like the gray fox here. I think it's an awesome vehicle. I was hoping King of the Monster would tone down the humor a bit, and while it does, the jokes that stay for the most part are really bad. I kind of feel that. I think the thing with King of the Monsters is that Kong has always been a character you can do more whimsical things with, like having more comedy. Godzilla's always been a much more serious, I shouldn't say always because we have the 70s, but Godzilla traditionally is a much more serious character, especially in the 2014 film. And I think you can get away with it in Kong because it's Kong. It's not a Godzilla movie. And that's why I think there should be a balance in Godzilla vs. Kong as well. There should have been a balance between kind of the tonal take that Kong Skull Island had and the tonal take that what I would preferably say would be 2014. The IRL moments, gotcha. And even the things in this movie where I don't know if the CG necessarily looks great, I think they get away with it because there's some there's some weird composition shots, composites, I don't know what you call them. There's some weird moments where things look distorted or not as rendered as they should against the human actors or whatever, or where you can see there's a bit of green screen. But I think the movie gets away with it because it does have this super weird dreamlike quality. I mean, again, just look in any of the four corners on screen. Look in any of the four corners of the movie, and you will see this weird blurring effect where things look a little 3D. You got the red and the blue, and it looks a little 3D, and so it provides this dreamlike quality to the movie that lets them get away with a lot more of the faults in the CG than they would have otherwise. And there's not a lot of faults in the CG. I think this movie is a very visually impressive film. I believe it was up for an award for the visual effects in the movie. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was nominated for some awards for the visual effects. It's a great reveal as well. You kind of get the sense that the buffalo gets up on its own, and then you got that shot of Kong. And holy cow, does he look super awesome. And then this far shot right here is great. That's a great shot for providing human scale for just how big Kong is. And I like the way he just tosses the helicopter to the side. He just disregards it. It's too good, man. And there's him taking his first notice of Weaver. You see his expression lighten. And then he has to go back into being the badass just to kind of show off. Skull Island doesn't always feel real, but like you say, it's dreamlike quality and looks beautiful because of it. Exactly. He does look really cool there. Even though that shot, the long shot where you're seeing Weaver standing in front of Kong and you're seeing the long shot, I don't think that shot looks groundbreaking or whatever, but I think they get away with it because of the dreamlike quality. And then this shot of the hand. Oh man, it's so cool. I loved the way that was in all the trailers. They knew that was such a good shot and they had to show it off. I see my boys Toho Kingdom getting some questions in on Twitter. This is a good exchange right here with Cole. I like the idea that they are the ones who turned a lot of the Vietnamese into enemies, and that they have turned Kong into their enemy as well. I like that, you know, he's a soldier, he's a follower. In the last scene we just saw him in, he was just snapping at his fellow soldiers, telling them, get in line, you know, Packard knows what he's doing, follow Packard. And then in this scene, you get the idea he's not just some like brainless, I'm going to follow orders kind of soldier. You know, Cole has, you know, he reasons, you know, he thinks about it. And so there he's saying Kong is only our enemy because you turned him into our enemy. This might seem weird, but it's so nice to see a film primarily set outdoors that actually filmed on real set locations. It's really nice. I don't think that's weird at all. I think that's very understandable, and I agree. This scene as well is just, I think, so funny. And I love the way, I don't know the actor here, but the way Victor plays it, it's just so funny. The way he absolutely is looking down upon this man. All right, let's see what they're talking about on Twitter. Because I could just talk about how great I think the dialogue in this movie all day is. Specifically, how good I think the dialogue once they get to the island is, I should say. I'm so glad this film isn't 100% CG. Sets like that. Yeah, I agree. Jordan Vogue Roberts, he's been pushing to make a Marlowe and Gunpei movie in the MonsterVerse. Oh, yes, he says that. That's what I've been saying since 2017. I've been begging for that to happen. That is what even if we can't get a film, and this is something that I've talked about when I did a video talking about where we have left to go in the MonsterVerse, that was my first go-to. I want to know what happens in that story. Even if we can't get it in a film, give it to me in a comic book. I want to see that story explored. Sean Willem, I believe that's how you say his name. I love that line. Sometimes I just punch you in the balls. It's not the last Dear Billy. We'll get one more Dear Billy in the movie. When he says, Dear Billy, your dad was the best to ever do it. So it's a sad moment, man. I like that he shoots this stick bug and then it's kind of just a depressed monster. The fact that I like to think that the stick bug just wanted a friend and it wasn't actually going to attack him, but it was like coming to give him a hug or whatever the monster equivalent of that is. And he shoots it, and now the stick bug has to run off lonely as well. He deserves it. He deserves to get eaten, but also it's pretty tragic. I didn't see this coming in the theater. It was a good jump scare moment. And here we make it to my favorite visuals in the movie. The Northern Lights. Sean Willem, I believe, is the actor who plays Cole. They're just, Jordan's saying Sean Willem's good in everything he does. If you could direct and write another MonsterVerse film, which Toho monster would you include? Jordan says he'd include Hedorah, which is, I'd like to see a King Kong versus Hedorah. That'd be pretty weird. How many Easter eggs are there that fans haven't noticed? Jordan says some major ones. I will never notice them because he's such a hardcore gamer and I'm not, that they're always going to go over my head. Jordan saying he'd love to work with the VFX team again. He's saying everything involving John C. Reilly is his favorite moment. Wants to do that Gunpei movie. I see what you're talking about. Yes, please let him shoot that movie. I'd love to have him come back. I'll tweet out as well. I just love that, you know, you guys, if you've watched the channel for a long time, I shouldn't even say that. If you've watched the channel recently, you know that I'm kind of obsessed with the Northern Lights. So, seeing the Northern Lights in this movie is something that makes me very, very happy. I don't think these are obvious day to night shots. I think these are green screen. I don't think this was shot in the daytime. I think this was shot on a soundstage. But yeah, it is pretty dreamy. And yes, this is one of the moments in the film with the soldiers walking around that I would agree doesn't look the great. I gotta shut up. This is my favorite moment in cinematic history. I gotta shut up, man. King Kong watching the Northern Lights is the only thing I ever want in any movie. He's just so lonely, man. But I just love that Kong can appreciate something like that. It just provides so much depth to his character. I don't know, it makes him... I can't explain why I love that so much. Nuts for Kaiji, thank you very much. What's up, D-Man? Stay safe, everyone. Peace. Thank you very much for popping in. I'll never be able to explain it. I like this as well. The fact that when you're put in this situation where it's survival, the differences between you, such as like the differences in your country, even if you're at war with one another, fall to the side, and you can become brothers with someone who you were just trying to kill. There's the Millennium Falcon sound effects. But I like that. I like the message that's trying to say. And that's something that I've seen a little bit with the COVID situation. You know, I've seen a lot of like chalk on the streets, people putting chalk on the sidewalks and whatnot, people like banding together as a community for the first time that I've ever seen. You know, I don't know, it's inspiring, and it's sad that it took something like this to get that across, and it's sad that it won't last, because it won't. All right, get ready. The Mothra girl is about to show up. There she is. There you go, right on her forehead. Toasty. This is a toasty jacket. I tried to put it on because it's kind of furry, and it was a little cold in my house, but it's a toasty jacket. You missed the Mothra girl? You just gotta look at the symbol on her head. Looks very reminiscent of the Toho Mothra symbol. It's not actually, but it looks similar. I love that line. That's too funny. And the music here is really good. Marlowe's Farewell is an awesome song. That and The Gray Fox, I think those songs perfectly represent the heart of this movie. And I think John C. Reilly does such a good job. He's definitely not a comic relief character, you know? He has a lot of comic relief moments, but he's more than that. And I think moments like that, where he's saying goodbye, really show that there's more to his character. And I love it. I love that they give him that depth. Do you believe the rumors that GVK will be even shorter than this movie? And if it is, do you reckon that'll bother you? I don't know. It's entirely dependent on the execution. But yeah, I am inclined to believe that the movie might be a little shorter than this one. I think this movie's length is a great length for a film. So I'd worry a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I think that they could pull it off. I love the montage shots there, specifically the shot of them walking with Kong's feet in the ground. I think it looks awesome. So in canon, does this mean this girl has some connection to Mothra, or is Mothra once existing on the island something to think about? I don't think that means in canon. No, I don't think that's in canon. I just think that's a little Easter egg for the fans. We are at 1, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 for the person asking for timestamps. I prefer films 2 hours, not 1 hour. I agree. I do like my films to be generally a little over or around 2 hours. Between the hour 50 to 210, that's where I think these MonsterVerse films should stay. Personally, that's personally what I think the MonsterVerse films should stay at, but that's not to say that you can't do an awesome hour, 30 minutes to 2 hours film, because there's many, many of them. That's a good line there. The fact that they never feel the need to explain that line, you'd be surprised how long people wait. Connecting back to his father, you know? The idea that he's referring to his father. You know, he waited for his dad. His dad never came. Imagine if Marlowe went back to his wife and she remarried and got over him already. I've thought about that many times. But that's way too reminiscent of, spoiler alert, Castaway. So there was no way they were going to do that here. But once he was the one who, once he mentioned that he had a kid that he was trying to get back to, that's when I was convinced he was going to die. Oh, what's up, Madison Russell? I didn't even know you were in the chat. Godzilla vs. Kong being 140 sounds alright. Depends on execution. Exactly. When I first saw the leaf wing in the theater, I thought it looked like Knifehead from Pacific Rim. I could see that. I could definitely see that a little bit. I think it's funny that Victor's the one who gets targeted by these guys, rather than Slivko, who was sitting on top of the boat. Although, I don't know why they wouldn't just shoot him and put him out of his misery, rather than letting his arm get torn off. But, you know, that's just me. Thank you very much, the offensive lid 96. Would you like a prehistoric Kong or Godzilla film? No. I personally would not want to see a feature-length film like that. I think you could do a lot of short stuff with that, and I think some animations would be fine. Comic books especially, I think you could do. Specifically comic books. I would definitely like to see some comic books, but I would not want to watch a feature-length film like that. This is a good, nice little reunion scene. I guess if he was a goner, there's no point wasting ammo. Yeah, but it's just one bullet. You only need one bullet to put the guy out of his misery. These guys are brutal. They're probably gonna kill all their prey like that, carry them and cut them into bits while they're still alive. Yeah, it's messed up. The man who played the Iwi chief is someone who I visited upon my multiple returns to Vietnam. I took this photo of him and his wife and his family every time I smile. That's pretty cool. This was done by some artists we met on this movie, and I have heard time, and I have a hard time ever thinking about doing a film without his touch. So there is Jordan on the Northern Lights in the Sky. He got that from the concept art. Which this movie is really interesting to think about, because this movie was done... I am checking out the concept art on Twitter, yeah. This movie is really interesting to think about because they did this in reverse. So they wrote the original King Kong 1917 script, right? Where Kong was going to be... It was going to be 1917, kind of a prequel to the 33 movie. And it was going to somehow be set in the MonsterVerse. I don't know how that works. But yeah, that was the idea. Was that it was going to be kind of a prequel to the King Kong story... Sort of, kind of connected to Godzilla, maybe. But it was set in 1917, and when Jordan Vogt Roberts came along, he scrapped the whole script when he took the project. And so they had all the concept art developed for that original King Kong movie. And so he wrote his new script around the concept art, which I find super interesting. And he had them produce a whole bunch more while they were still writing the script. So a lot of ideas sound like they came from the concept art. And actually, it sounds like, and this isn't confirmed, I don't think, but it sounds like the original ending of this movie was going to be the ambushed scene where Packard fights Kong and there's all those, when they blow up the napalm. That sounds like it was going to be the big final third act battle. And it was going to be King Kong versus the military. And Legendary is the one who forced him to put the Skullcrawler fight in there because Legendary wanted a big monster battle at the end of the movie. That's a really cool shot. I don't think I've ever truly appreciated that shot of the boneyard, but that's a really cool shot. Did anyone get to ask Gareth Edwards what his thoughts on the MonsterVerse is? People did ask him, but he did not answer. I know that he's still, he attended the Godzilla King of the Monsters premiere. He attended that, and no, Gareth doesn't have social media. He also hangs out with the MonsterVerse directors. I think he went to Hawaii, maybe Vietnam, with Jordan Vogt Roberts when this movie came out. And then he has hung out with the other MonsterVerse directors, with the Godzilla directors, with Doherty and Wingard multiple times since then. But yeah, I don't know what his thoughts on it are. I'd imagine he's got to be at least okay with it if he's going to hang out with them. This is a really, really cool sequence. I like the range of color values this movie has. It doesn't just stick to one set of colors. So we get the cool yellow here, and then we're going to get the harsh green in a minute. I'm not a fan of this moment, though. This one always seemed a bit forced. They just forced their way to get that thing to explode. I think there was a better way to do that. I'm not entirely sure what that better way would have been. Maybe if he had just flicked the cigarette on his own without being told to put it out, I think that would have worked a little better. But one of our first news videos was about Gareth Edwards chilling with Jordan during the shoot of this film. Yeah. That's a good... I like that. I like that run. That's a good one. And I love that they actually practically built the majority of the boneyard that the characters interact with. I think that's really cool that they went through the time to put that all together. And that's the thing that made this movie so high budget. That's the reason this movie's budget is as high as it is because they did so much practically and so much on location that the budget for this film was driven up a lot. And so they actually had to cut, or not cut, but work around a lot of the action scenes, such as Kong fighting the two. Never been a huge fan of. I think the plot convenience skull vomit is... I don't know about it. Again, I think there was a better way to convey the information that Billy Chapman had died. Or Billy Chapman, yeah, now the kid's dead. I mean Jack Chapman. I think there was a better way to convey that information, but... The Triceratops skull in this scene is so cool. Yeah, it is. Green smoke gas mask scene is super CGI. It is a little bit, yeah. Remember when we thought the Skullcrawler was going to have some sort of electricity power running through it with the camera flash? I do remember that. It was very, very misleading. Oh, shit. That was a death that shocked me in the theater. This whole movie was one that I wasn't sure anyone was truly going to make it out alive. I truly believed that the movie could have ended with every character being killed on the island, and that is why we don't know about Skull Island in 2014. That is truly what I believed might happen. This is a real great horror movie sequence, trying to catch the monster in the darkness. Really cool. So I remember being very on edge during this whole movie, like super on edge during this whole movie. The fact that it looks so CG during the katana scene reminds me, or it makes it look so stylized. I feel that as well. Yeah, it does give the movie a super... That's a good line. It does give the movie this super interesting feel. And I thought right there... That's where I thought that he was going to die. I did not think that he was going to survive this film. And I thought the Skullcrawler was going to bust out and eat him, which I thought was going to be real tragic because he then wasn't going to ever get to meet his son. Why does the Skullcrawler chase her? Why does it go after Weaver, of all people? She is the one who's doing the least damage to it. Or you could have this be the exposition. You know, the flamethrower could have caused one of the gas vents to explode, and that's how they get the idea to blow them up. I don't know. I think there was a better way to convey that information. That's cool with the skull exploding. That's badass. And then you get your generic toxic gas. I don't know, dude. This movie's just weird, and I love it. I like the blue blood. That's also really cool. And that's a great shot of the Skullcrawler roaring with all the leaf wings, I think they are, flying around him. And there's something just so amusing about watching those little birds get chopped into bits. And this scene's like every 10-year-old's dream right here. You know? I think I took my brother to see this movie, and he freaking loved this. That's such a cool shot when he splits it in half. Although I've never understood why he'd take it off when he's still clearly in the green smoke. He definitely just inhaled some of those toxic chemicals. I love the monster designs. I do too. I think this movie has great monster designs. Although I think the original Skullcrawler design was a little cooler. I've always wondered if James has gone back to get that lighter. You know, because the explosion only lasts for a little bit, right? I've always wondered, you know, that's his dad's lighter. Is he just going to let that thing go to, you know, never... He's just going to get rid of it? You know, I don't know. I wouldn't say there's too much CGI. This is all done on set. The only thing that's CG are the monsters. Yeah, on set he means they did it on location because they actually built the boneyard and whatnot. You can see the Skullcrawler's ribs. Yeah, this is, if you remember when this movie came out, I talked a lot about that transition from the boneyard to this bamboo forest. I talked a lot about it, or the paper forest, whatever they call it, where it feels like something is cut from the movie. Still to this day, I think it feels like something was cut from the film. There seems like a section of this movie that's just missing, that used to be right there but now isn't. Jordan Vogt Roberts actually confirmed that's not the case. He confirmed that's not a place where they cut something. There's a lot of places in this movie where things got cut. And he has talked about wanting to do a director's cut, and fingers crossed someday he gets to do that director's cut. But that was apparently always the way it went, which I find that weird. Ooh. Hey, look, San finally got a line in there. She hasn't had one of those in 20 minutes since she was on the boat. I do like the tension here, where you can very clearly tell Packard is, you know, he's using Kong as an outlet for his frustrations of the war, and the reason he targets Weaver so much is because he firsthand blames her for having to leave before they achieve true victory. So the reason that he's so antagonistic specifically towards her is because of that. And I think there's some people who would question why her, you know, why is she the one that he targets? And I don't know, those people didn't pay enough attention. There's the only reason that I know his name's Steve is because of that line right there. That line is what sticks out. Whenever I think, what is that character's name, I always have to run through the line, stand on the porch or run with the big dogs. And once I run through that line in my head, I go, oh, his name's Steve, which is what happened earlier in the stream when I couldn't remember what his name was. Hi, D-Man. Sorry I'm late. Well, welcome. We are currently at 1:25:44, 45, 46. And this is a great moment. This is what we need, man. We need Billy Chapman and Godzilla vs. Kong to have this notebook and have the knife. And Jason Mitchell's performance in this movie is so underrated. He gives such an emotional performance in this movie, and he gets no credit for it, ever. I hardly hear about people talking about him. And I tried to highlight him when I did my Kongathon review, because I think he does such a great job providing something of an emotional core for this movie. He's not straight up the emotional core. I think John C. Reilly provides the true emotional core of this movie, but he's like the emotional core of that group of people, you know? Alexander Skarsgård confirmed as Billy. I'm not sure about that one. This is a good line. That was apparently ad-libbed or improvised. That was apparently not in the script. That was something John C. Reilly supposedly said on set, or someone said on set, and they worked into the script. And I do remember that was a deal breaker for a lot of people. When I did my Kong Skull Island review, there were a lot of accounts that would watch my channel that were like parents, and I remember them asking me, is this movie safe for children? You know, what are the cuss words? That's a great shot of the sun. But they were asking me, like, what are the cuss words like in this movie? And when I told them that, yeah, there is that one F word, they were like, well, and then I can't go. This is another interesting scene. There is some clips of them setting up that are day for night, where in the trailers, you can see that those scenes were shot for daytime. Those scenes are definitely in daytime shots in the trailers of them getting that little ambush set up. But then once you get here, it's nighttime. So that's a little interesting change. This is a moment that I've always been confused about the geography, because look out over the cliff. Huge cliff, right? Like 1,000 feet up. And then our boy Kong is about to appear from the smoke, standing full and tall. How the hell is Kong standing full and tall face to face with them? I'm assuming he's got to be on a platform. Like, there has to be a cliff underneath Kong. He can't just be standing on the river. Otherwise, he's a big boy. I like the glowing eyes. It's cool. A cool effect. This is one of the worst green screen moments in the movie, but the thing that I find interesting about it is that Kong is the one that looked green screened in. If you ask me, and it's not in this next shot coming up, when she actually touches him, I think it looks really good. But the shot of Kong walking up right here, right where he's looking at him and she's taking steps towards him, for whatever reason, it looks like they're actually there in that location, which they weren't. They were on a soundstage. And it looks like Kong is the one who's green screened in. I don't know, it's just weird to me. I like the touching Kong, giving Kong some sort of human contact in this movie. It wouldn't have felt right if he didn't have any. Kong just have levitation powers. That's how he kills Godzilla. Yeah, he's flying in. An animator actually quit over the glowing eyes in the fog. Yeah, I did know that. Which is absurd. Why would you quit over something that insignificant? It's cool. You know, if it looks cool, then they're going to do it. That's kind of the motto of this movie, I feel like. That's the CG on Kong's face there looked phenomenal. That looks super detailed. I don't think I've ever truly appreciated that shot of Kong's eyes. But why would you, if the whole movie's absurd, and then his eyes glow here as well. The fact that you would quit over something like that is dumb. I like the way Kong moves right there when he turns to roar at the explosions. He moves like an animatronic. It reminds me of the 76 Kong. It reminds me of a shot in the 33 original, where they tried to make stop motion model interact with the actors. It reminds you of that. I could see that. Kong looks green screened there. It's weird. Why does Kong look like he's the one that's green screened? The music here is awesome. Ambushed. This isn't ambushed. This is Man vs. Beast. That shot of Kong in the fireball. In the original, when I saw that in the first person shots are always good. In the trailers, it straight up just looked like a black silhouette where you couldn't see any detail on Kong. But then when you watch it on something like I'm watching it in 4K, when you see that, you can just straight up see Kong. and he's illuminated by the light and you can just see him. The fact that they have that detail in this movie is awesome, and the fact that you can't see it unless you're watching at least the Blu-ray is really cool. But this shot of Kong walking through the trees is so badass. Kong is fucking awesome, dude. And you got Kong in front of the moonlight. You guys know I love moonlight shots so much. And having him tower over them here and that shot's really cool. Man vs. Beast is the track that gets me writing like a boss. I feel that so much. That's a good chest pound. It's his weakest chest pound in the movie, but it's still a good one. That's kind of a wimpy throw, if you ask me. No offense, Sam Jackson, that was a little bit of a wimpy throw. Okay, so let me propose an alternate theory to you right now. All right, while we're watching this live together. King Kong is being burnt up, and it is clearly hurting him, yes? It's at the very least catching him off guard. He's being hurt by the flames, okay? But he's about to rebound and do just fine. He's about to appear out of the flames and attack these soldiers. I would argue that Kong isn't all that injured by the flames here. I would argue that the thing that gets him is the fact that this is napalm, meaning it's starving him of oxygen. That's what I would argue, is that the thing that makes Kong pass out is the fact that he does not have the oxygen he needs to sustain him doing this, because he clearly falls back into the fire. And if the fire was truly the problem, it would have gotten him right there before he appeared and jump scared. So I would propose to you that the fire is not truly what's hurting Kong in this scene, but the thing that's truly getting Kong is the fact that, as you see right there, it suddenly hits him. He passes out. Have you ever stood up too fast and you're doing fine, and then all of a sudden you get that head rush and you fall over, or you almost fall over? It's something similar to that, where he's powering on the energy and adrenaline, but then he doesn't have the oxygen he needs, and so he passes out. My audio went out for a bit. Did my audio go out? I'm just ranting about how I don't think Kong is going to get toasted by the atomic breath like people claim. I think Kong's going to do just fine. You can see he passes out. It's like lacks of oxygen. Exactly. So everyone who's claiming that the atomic breath is just going to toast him, I would argue that that scene does not give you the evidence you need to truly make that assertion. That's probably too much to explain in Godzilla vs. Kong. I can see the napalm thing, but I don't think that's something they want to explain a lot in the movie. Well, I don't think they need to explain it in the movie. I don't think there needs to be a line where they say, hey, Kong he's fine when it comes to fire, but starving his brain of oxygen will get him. I don't think there needs to be a line like that. It looks like he's gasping for air. Sure, I could see that. I'll continue the GVK story pitch next week. I'm glad you guys are liking that series. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I like the idea here that Packard is so willing to kill Kong that he's about to blow up every single person there. He doesn't pass out from injury. He passes out from no air. Exactly. We got a bitch please. Slivko's good in this movie as well. Again, I don't know who that actor is. I think his name's Thomas. Maybe his name's Thomas. Thomas Mann. Thomas Mann is his name. I'm so good, dude. He does a good job in this movie. I wonder how long it would have taken Godzilla to notice that there's a big-ass skullcrawler messing around. I don't think it would have taken Godzilla long. If you read the novelizations, Godzilla seems kind of aware of what's going on Skull Island, even though he's not going to the island. I think Godzilla would figure out, like, oh shit, this guy's dead, and the skullcrawlers are about to come up. I think Godzilla could handle the skullcrawlers a lot easier than Kong did, but I still think Godzilla would be like, God damn it. You're not watching this film on bad Blu-ray rip again, my dude. You're not watching this film on a bad Blu-ray rip again this time, my dude. No, I'm not. I'm watching a very nice transfer, upscaled into 4K. It was one of my favorite shots. The revealed it was awesome. It is really cool. She sure can jump high. I like the idea here that Conrad isn't willing to just give up on Packard either. I mean, he does, but I mean, he's not willing to just be like, this guy this guy was a little unhinged, so he's unredeemable. I like that he still tries to save him. I think that's a nice touch. Look in that shot, though. Look at Kong's chin in that shot, and then tell me Kong doesn't have at least a little beard in this movie, because he does. He does have a little beard. You motherfucker. Remember my little brother when we saw this movie. This is a really cool little fight moment as well. I think this is a good little bit. And Jordan Vogt Roberts has confirmed that the cutaway here, where we don't see, and I do like that you notice the Skullcrawler notices Weaver, which is why it chases them. So a lot of people will question, why doesn't the Skullcrawler kill Kong? Well, because it thinks Kong's knocked out, so it's going to go for the moving prey, and then it'll circle back around and get Kong. Use your head next time before you ask questions. But Jordan has confirmed that the reason that they cut away right there is because he's paying tribute to the airport scene in Godzilla 2014, which I think is hilarious. And, or getting back to the original point I was trying to make, is my little brother originally thought that King Kong was an animatronic in this movie, and that they had to time it. I remember him thinking that they had to time Kong punching Packard so that he didn't say the F word. I just thought that was so funny back in the day. It was so wholesome. This is a shot that I'm convinced has been changed from the trailer, where the Skullcrawler bursts through the trees right there. Go watch the original Comic-Con trailer, and it's very much Kong's hand that knocks those trees out of the way. It's definitely not the Skullcrawler, so I think that shot's been changed. What the hell? John C. Reilly's tuning in with the MonsterVerse Watchalong? That's awesome. On Instagram Live with John C. Reilly? That's so cool. And Eugene Cordurum. I don't know how to say that name. I don't know who that is. Let's check it out, though. I'll pull it up real fast just to see what's up. Oh, it's the, this, yes. Can you see this? We got a live stream and a live stream watching a movie all together.
That's how it ends no matter what. Well, you know,
I'll have to save this video.
We're here, we did it. We're what, 3 years after the fact?
That's pretty sweet. I don't know if you guys can see this very well, but that's pretty awesome. This is a great moment here. Cole's death is sad, man. I've always thought it was sad. I know it's supposed to kind of be funny, but I've always considered it sad. Yes, we did all cry for Cole. The soundtrack is emotional. I think it's great. Is John actually watching the film? Yeah, I think they're actually watching the film. Bah, I like that. And then the Jawbreaker right here. I know he doesn't get to go through with it, but it's a good tribute regardless. I like that he gives it the try. Look at the way the Skullcrawler whips Kong around. I don't know. I'm just telling you, this movie has such fluid action. More movies need action like this movie. It is dark humor. Yeah, I know it's supposed to kind of be a tragically comedic moment, but it is sad still. That's a cool shot. That was on a lot of t-shirts. And then you've got the true masterpiece of this film. That's so cool. This tree bat is the coolest thing to come from this movie. Bam! And this is a film that I think has an appropriate use of slow-mo. It gets annoying in a lot of movies that do speed ramping, but I think this movie does it really well. Like, the way Kong whips his head back right there to dodge is also really great. How does your list of favorite to least favorite soundtracks for the MonsterVerse go? Well, that's a good question. Well, King of the Monsters cheats a lot because King of the Monsters uses Ifukube music, and Ifukube music will always be my favorite music. That's such a nasty moment where he puts his tongue in his mouth. Ifukube music will always be my favorite music, so if I was disregarding the Ifukube music, because it is cheating, my favorite soundtracks go Kong Skull Island, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then 2014. Because 2014 has some awesome original songs, like The Key to Coexistence is so great. And again, a lot of people might complain, why does the Skullcrawler go after this person in this scene? Why doesn't it kill that person? We've already had it established at this point that the Skullcrawler will go for whatever moving, not threat, but whatever moving target it sees the most. So whatever's moving the most is what it'll target. So it makes sense that the Skullcrawler is going to go after whatever's moving the most here. That tail whip though, she didn't have to be that extra. I feel that. Cool having Kong break out of the chains as well. Some really awesome imagery. And I love that realization shot where he looks over and goes, "Oh yeah." You can totally see the gears in Kong's head turning. What a shot that is. Can we take a minute to appreciate how great of a shot Mason Weaver has to be to pull that off, to shoot that thing straight in the eye? I feel bad for the actors in this movie. They were soaked during all this stuff. This anchor scene, god damn. It's too good, man. I love how Kong roars, just badass. It really is. God, this movie's too good, man. She's a photographer after all. Getting good shots is kind of her thing. Wow, that was the most dad joke I've ever heard you make. But again, just the way Kong moves is so fluid and awesome. I like when he pounds him on the head, is really good. I'm a little confused on the geography here though, where she gets knocked into the water. This watch Kong get surprise jump attacked right here, because the way he spins and rolls off that is so awesome. And then he comes down with that next punch is so great. Why don't people choreograph monster fights like this more often? Like Winter Soldier level of choreograph for fist-to-fist fighting. That head bash is the one I was referring to earlier. And then the uppercut's really cool as well. Kong gets two great finishers on this guy. That uppercut's really awesome. And then he gets the better one here in a minute. Do you think we will get a Godzilla killing a Skullcrawler with his atomic breath? No, I don't think that, but I'm sure he could. I'm confused how Mason Weaver gets knocked unconscious. Well, that was a big fall. If you take a big fall like that and hit the back of your head, you probably got a concussion from that because the water is still going to hurt. I'm surprised the Skullcrawler survived that. I don't know, that thing's resilient. This isn't even just a great fight for a monster film. It's just great choreography, full stop. I agree. And this is I still debate about if this is the coolest finisher in the MonsterVerse, because this is such an awesome finisher. This is like one of the coolest ending moves. It's like the coolest kill shot ever. And I still debate whether I like that or the original Kiss of Death more. And I don't know, man. I fluctuate. Every time I watch one, I go, yeah, that one's cooler. And then I'll watch the other and I go, no, that one's cooler. But then I'll switch back to the original and go, that one's cooler. Kong's hand has such impressive detailing here. You can actually see the patterning on Kong's hand and the fingerprints. It's incredible. That's what I was just saying. See, someone in the chat, Godzilla154 in the chat's talking about that same thing. Yeah, they both have really cool finishers. I like that the MonsterVerse kind of competes to have the best finisher because it's so good. The Kiss of Death has the combination of timing music, I think. That's thing missing. This is missing the music that makes the moment as impactful, I think. I guess. I mean, the music kind of swells to it. ILM did the CGI for Kong, and it shows. It sure does. And we get our final song in the soundtrack coming up here. King of the Monsters pretty much did Kiss of Death 2.0. Yeah, they did the reverse Kiss of Death. Look at Kong walking off like a champ. I love all the memes of that, of Kong looking at Weaver, and then you see the flashbacks to all the times Kong gets killed because Beauty killed the Beast, and then he turns around and walks away. I think that's funny. This is good stuff, man. This is good stuff. Yeah, this Kong ain't no simp. But I know we'll meet again some sunny day. This is the song I listened to when I left G-Fest. It may have been a little cliche, but it was a kaiju soundtrack, so I went, yeah, that fits. And I popped this one on when I was getting on the plane leaving G-Fest. Oh, yeah, we're staying for the after credits scene. What are you talking about? Who's going to leave for that? This moment is almost tragic, but I think truly shows just how smart Kong is. Because I like the idea that this could have been the characters never getting off the island. And yeah, I like that idea that Kong would potentially doom them by destroying these helicopters. I think that'd be really messed up. I'm glad they didn't end it like that, but I like the idea that you can interpret it like that. That is the best chest beat roar of the movie right there. That's badass, and I love the way you fade into the or zoom into the eye. CGI looks incredible right there. The way you end the movie, just the way you started it, great stuff. But the fact that they make it off the island shows that Kong is smart enough to realize that, you know, these helicopters are not the threat. It's a totally different situation here. I don't know whether the characters yelled at him King Kong Escapes style, you know, Kong, King Kong, don't do it. I don't know what the idea is, but the fact that he doesn't destroy those helicopters and they're able to get off the island, I think truly adds to Kong's intelligence and shows that he is capable of realizing, thank God those helicopters didn't attack Kong exactly. Or maybe they did and they had to take the Gray Fox through the storm to get out. Who knows? I'm going to assume the helicopters picked him up and Kong was smart enough not to attack. And again, like I mentioned earlier, the actor that plays his son here, Hank Marlowe's son, is the actor who played Hank Marlowe in the start of the movie in the flashback. He probably did destroy the helicopters, but only some survived. I doubt it. I think if Kong is going to destroy the helicopters, he's going to destroy all of them. Did you not see the intro to the movie? It's an emotional scene even with no sound. It really is. It's because of the music here, the Gray Fox song. It's great. It's a really emotional song. And I like the baseball transition here. He finally gets his wish. This is a guy who probably didn't even know, he clearly didn't know about colored TV, but I would wonder if he even knew about television in general. So this must be like it for him, you know? You can see his son's eyes are red from tearing up. Yeah, that actor does a great job there as well. And then you got the Battle of Skull Island playing over the end credits here. Really cool stuff. Let's pop back on Instagram and see what they're up to, man. That's really cool.
Who would have thought that thinking back to that movie progression of this, like...
What is happening? I can't tell what's happening there.
Freaked out.
Who's on the stream? I can't tell.
Like the gym that I was working out at, like at one point they almost like tried to kick me out of the gym.
Stay away from me.
Yeah, people were for sure like, well, and it's not like I look like the most normal person.
I have no idea what they're talking about. I'll have to watch that stream later. What a great movie, goddamn, for real. That's such an underrated film, man. I'm talking mainstream. I think mainstream audiences did not give this film enough credit. Beer and hot dog. What a good combo. And now for the most epic end credits ever. The scene that blew all of our minds. Sure did. Even though it was spoiled, you know, we did get the slight spoiler, didn't we? That there was going to be something afterward, because we saw the actual credits leak and we saw that in those credits they had included Godzilla's name. So it was like, yeah, Godzilla has to be somewhere in here. Like Kong reaching out, that's cool. A lot of the cave art in here is really awesome. I'm going to tweet out one more time, just because we got time to kill, because we're in the end credits, right? Might as well. Guys, I want you to all go head to Twitter and tweet out Kong Skull Island, MonsterVerse Watchalong. Tweet all it out. Let's get it trending. I think everyone needs to go spam Twitter with MonsterVerse stuff. I have a feeling this one's not going to be as popular as last week's because for a few reasons, Jordan Vogt Roberts isn't as active on Twitter right now. And also because Kong is, I don't know, for whatever reason, people don't want to tweet about him as much or talk about him on YouTube as much. All right, there you go. Sent out my tweet. Everyone go spam Twitter with MonsterVerse Watchalong hashtag. All right, let's see what the chat's saying now. This movie's post-credit scene is by far my favorite of any film. I feel that. I don't know if it would technically qualify as my favorite, but it's a good one for sure. It's almost time. Did I already miss Mothra? I might have missed Mothra. She shows up in these credits as well, but I might have missed her. To be honest, I haven't seen this movie in a while, so I didn't tweet it out as much. It's a good one, man. It's really good. I love this movie. It's, like I said, so perfectly paced. It knows what it wants to be, and it pulls it off. The visual effects are incredible. The music's awesome. It's the greatest MonsterVerse film for me. And it's got King Kong in front of the Northern Lights. There's nothing more in the world that I want. We are at 1 hour, 53, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18 for the person asking for timestamps. I watched this film like 3 times in cinemas and forced my friend to sit through it every time. She was annoyed, boys. What? She was annoyed, boys. She knew how happy it made me. His roar brought tears to my eyes. Yeah, Godzilla's roar at the end of this movie sounds cooler than it ever has in the MonsterVerse. Gonna have to agree, this is the best MonsterVerse film. Did I miss Mothra? I think I totally did. I totally missed Mothra. I don't know. You know, thinking about it, this probably is my favorite post-credit scene ever. I'm trying to think of one that tops it. And I was going to say King of the Monsters, but truly it's the montage that plays over the credits of King of the Monsters. I think this post-credit scene is cooler than Jonah Allen buying Ghidorah's head. But not Boy's Law. Gotcha. I was going to say, that didn't make much sense. King of the Monsters is my favorite, but Skull Island is the best. Fair enough. Nothing tops his post-credits. Where are they? They coming up. Our boys. Did I already miss the Toho boys in the credits? I don't think I did. I think they're coming at the very end. This gives me hope. Godzilla vs. Kong. We all need to be optimistic. For sure. People need to stop being so negative about it. God damn. But that's Sonic the Hedgehog post-credits, though. You right. I saw this movie without knowing it was connected to Godzilla 2014, and I didn't sit through the credits to see the Ghidorah tease. So when I found out about it, I was so mad. That's kind of how I was with the first Iron Man. When I found out that I didn't sit through the credits and then I missed something. Thank you very much, The Offensive Lid 96 for the donation. He says, Doomslayer versus Godzilla, who wins? Well, obviously Godzilla, because he's the king of the monsters, so. Timestamp again. It's 1:55, 34, 35, 36. We are in the there's Mothra. There she is. Look on the right-hand side of the screen, and you will see our girl Mothra. I didn't notice that until way later. Like, way later. My favorites go to Godzilla 2014, Skull Island, King of the Monsters, but they're all fantastic in their own way. I 100% agree. I really like all the movies. I don't want to make it seem like I don't like any of them. I think that'd be absurd if you actually thought that I didn't like any of them, but this is my favorite. That's a classic Toho-style Mothra. It sure is. Here, coming up, right here at the end of the credits, we are about to get our, right there, characters of Godzilla, King Ghidorah, Mothra, and Rodan, created and owned by Toho Co. Ltd. Hell yeah. 2014 still your favorite? That's fair. There's a lot of merit to 2014. All right, here we go. Here we go. I remember in the theater not knowing whether I should laugh at that or if it was cringy. The fact that he was addressing the fact that we were in the dark, I was like, oh no. But then once I realized, because originally I thought it was going to just be like a Deadpool Ferris Bueller post credits, but once I realized it was the actual scene, I was like, oh, okay, now we're good. Now I can laugh at it in repeat viewings. That's a good line. Even though it's very, very simple, Welcome to Monarch is still a good line. The music here, too, the Monster Mash song. Oh, my lord. God, I love it, dude. The music, the way it hits every time it shows a new one. I've seen those images probably more than I've seen King of the Monsters, like the actual monsters in King of the Monsters. That is such a cool shot, dude. I don't know. I don't know. That roar. God, dude. I've seen that post-credit scene so many times. I've used those images in so many videos over the years. Man. Alright. Now I can close the laptop, get out of here. Yeah, man. It's too good. It's too good. Gotta tweet out the MonsterVerse one more time. Try and maybe get it trending or something. I don't know. It's probably not gonna get trending, but we'll do it. We'll do it anyways, just for the love of the MonsterVerse. In my King of the Monsters folder on my computer, where I have all my King of the Monsters images, I still have a Kong Skull Island post credits, just filled with all my screenshots of the post credits. It's too much, man. This movie's too good. I love it so much. All right, there you go. Now I can close out the laptop. Next week, I'm not going to say what, but I'm planning on having a surprise for you. I don't know if I'm going to pull this surprise off, so again, I'm going to shut up and not tell you specific details, but I do plan on having a surprise for you all, and if I can pull it off, you're going to really be hyped about it. Again, not convinced that I'm going to be able to pull it off, which is why I won't say anything until after the fact, and then I'll maybe tell you guys what I had planned. But hopefully I can pull something cool off. What's going on here? Could Kong not right now? I can't see my OBS, for whatever reason, is only showing me a picture of King Kong roaring, and I know that there's more to the screen, but whatever. Yeah, well, we'll see. Again, I'm not gonna tell you guys what it is, because it will be bound to let you down when I don't pull it off, because I don't think I'm gonna pull it off. But it would be cool if I could. So maybe, hopefully, theoretically, it could be fun. The end credits scene made me almost jump out of my seat when Goju roared, and then I almost teared up. I probably did tear up, if I'm being honest. I probably did. It was so awesome. Again, I had a great time doing this. Thank you guys all for tuning in. I really appreciated it. Thank you to Godzilla Geek. Godzilla Geek 2004. Thank you to Nuts for Kaiju, and thank you to the Offensive Lid for the donations. I appreciated that a lot. You guys have no idea how much it helps. It truly does go a really long way, especially nowadays. It really helps. I missed the after credit scene in theater. I saw it on YouTube. Damn. Same time again next week. You know it, man. Please show up. Let's keep doing this. Stay safe, you absolute legend. Thank you very much, Jose. I think, yeah. I don't know. I'm having a great time doing this. So you're saying you portrayed Kong with motion capture for Godzilla vs. Kong, points at D-Man's beard. Well, I'm not legally saying that because I legally can't talk about that until November. But yes, I am saying that. We should have a Toho watch-along. Actually, that's something that I'll talk about here in a second after I read these next comments. Next week, same time, same D-Man channel. Yes, exactly, Brayton. Same D-Man time, same D-Man channel. Exactly. Much love, big man. We'll see you again then. All right, see you, Dangerville. You guys signing out for the night. Thank you so much for tuning in, man. It's been awesome doing this. Yeah, okay, so the Toho stuff. Here's my idea. Probably not right away. Probably not the Thursday after next. You know, maybe. We'll see. Probably not, though. I am hoping to do a King Kong vs. Godzilla watch-along with you guys. I know it won't be done through Nerdist, and it won't be done with Legendary, and so it's not going to have nearly the buzz or hype, but I am absolutely planning on doing a King Kong vs. Godzilla watch-along in anticipation for Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm thinking about maybe doing it later, closer to Godzilla vs. Kong coming out. I think that would be probably a little more strategic, but I'm absolutely planning on doing that because I'm having such a fun time doing this that I'm definitely going to do that. So it's a matter of timing. We'll see if I'm truly up for it in 2 weeks or if I want to hold off. I'm probably going to hold off until significantly closer to Godzilla vs. Kong coming out. Maybe we can do it in like a month or something, as long as it falls right before Godzilla vs. Kong's release. I see what you're saying. So you're talking about like a straight up Godzilla-thon where we do a watch along. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that at this point in the channel. No way am I going to be able to commit to that, but I like the idea, and maybe someday down the line. I really got to pee. I don't know if you can. I'm fidgety right now because I have to pee so bad. So I'm going to wrap up the stream here real quick so I can go. I'll read this one comment. How did you get started on YouTube, D-Man? I'm thinking of becoming a YouTuber like you are at a little bit. If not that, then voice actor for Black Plasma Studios. How did I become a YouTuber? I started watching a YouTuber called The Syndicate Project. He did gaming videos. I wanted to do stuff like what he was doing, so I started doing piss on stream. Yeah, that's an idea. I'll just piss my pants. Yeah, I wanted to do something like what he was doing, so I started a gaming channel. It was not successful. I loved Godzilla. I was doing some Godzilla stuff on that old channel. The Godzilla 2014 came out, got me really inspired to talk about Godzilla on YouTube, so I transitioned into this channel, D-Man 1954, which was my second channel, and the rest is history. SMH, D-Man always having to pee. That's why you go before the movie. You know, the thing is, I did go. Like 5 minutes before I sat down and started streaming, I did go. But the thing is, I have the bladder the size of like a penny, so I'm constantly having to pee. That's like my default state, but it's like really bad right now because I just chugged one of these things not that long ago. That's the reason I haven't been drinking a lot during the stream, is because I knew it was going to hit me and I knew it was going to hit bad. And so yeah, that's what's happening right now. thank you guys all for tuning in to the Godzilla vs. Kong. Why did I say that? Thank you all for tuning in to the Kong Skull Island watch along. I really appreciated this. Can't wait to do this next week for Godzilla King of the Monsters, baby. It'll be nice. And I will see you guys next time for the next one. I'm going to say thank you one more time just so I can get the actual outro. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. See you guys next time. See I just have to get that in there. D-Man, out.